We're going to start off Monday by saying, make these dudes lonelier. Do not allow them in your same space enough to where they can breathe the same good air that you're breathing. Make them lonelier. So I have two posts to share in this one video. The first is titled, Men Shouldn't Be Shamed If They Don't Want to Be a Father. And this is posted in the True Unpopular Opinion subreddit. He says, now listen, I understand the stigma that men get when they don't want to be a father. They're called deadbeats, losers, all sorts of things under the rainbow. I feel they shouldn't be shamed if they willingly don't want to be a part of a child's life, if they don't want to. The point being is that if they feel they aren't ready for fatherhood, then they shouldn't be forced to or even pay alimony or child support is for a child. All right. You see how when some women give up the baby or even abort, things like she's taking control of her future, her body, her choice, she wasn't ready, so we should understand. There are men out there that feel the same way. They don't want to be a parent or rather not have a kid. Even more so if the girl said they'd agreed to abort and she changes her mind last minute. Her body, her choice, his wallet, his life, his choice. We shouldn't judge men who aren't ready, but see it from theirs view. We are caring on the gals. Why not be caring on the guys too? Men who just up and leave are a different story. This person shouldn't have access to talk to women with good sense. Before you even get close to a dude, you got to ask him some of these questions that will bring out these opinions, because this person doesn't deserve to have the company of a woman, doesn't barely deserve to walk past a woman without her clutching her purse and then turning around and going the other way. I'm tired of these people. Let's make blue balls great again. This is where I was tagged in. Familiar tune for you says sending out the burb signal. This is how I got tagged into this. Let's look at some of these comments. Unscented Soundtrack says, why would he pay alimony? At least get your terminology right. Always Right says, if you don't want to be a dad, that's fine. Don't get anyone pregnant. You don't get to make that choice once the child exists. Gojo says, exactly. Be celibate until you get married. You won't get shamed for that. And then Unscented Soundtrack says, you can always love other men. Love like, Yes, that's what they need to go do. Love on other men or get themselves one of those pocket toys so they can love on themselves and just leave women out of it. Oliver Klosov says, projection is a thing. Okay Individual says, if a man wants a termination and the girl doesn't, then the man should be able to leave. You notice how this person is saying man in one part of the sentence and girl in another. They do not see women as being adults. They really use girl at the same time as using man. Just keep that in mind as you listen in your day-to-day life. They really call us girls. Majestic Sky Zombie says, in theory, yes, but in practice, that would mean leaving the mother and child destitute. And then Always Right says, leave where? And Okay Individual says, the relationship. No Ad says, I think women get dogged on more for not wanting children than men do. A single man at 35 with no kids, great. A single woman at 35 with no kids, she's a ran through lady of the night who's going to die alone with cats. That's the gist, unfortunately. This person that has some random letters for a name says, there are honestly only two sides to this. On one side, accountability. Sex has a risk, and men as agents of the act need to be held accountable for the care, the life it creates if it happens. The biggest shame is that, unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be much overlap between the groups of men who would be responsible and active fathers and the men who tend to do well achieving sex. Both parties are responsible to that end. The other issue is that the way straight gender norms are currently, men will tend to take what they can get in terms of sex from women they wouldn't necessarily want to build a home with. Again, both parties play a role there. The other side of the coin is fairness and true equality. After the pregnancy takes hold, as it is, the man has no say or agency as to whether the delivery is executed. Notwithstanding fringe examples of health risk, he becomes a passenger to what can be a number of outcomes. I think it is fair to point out that modern technology provides a number of contraceptive options. And it's also fair to point out that safe haven slash safe harbor options don't appear to be an option to males in particular. So there is some truth to the reality that men's agency ends much earlier than it does for the ladies. At the end of the day, yes, it's ugly, and I've got no reason to conclude that society is necessarily bothered to change this status quo. I was the baby who the father asked to abort. And I've also been the man in a casual relationship where an accidental pregnancy led to a termination. She didn't know who the father was. I've also been involved with a woman who told me any pregnancy would be automatically aborted without my input due to prejudicial family pressures. Best case scenario to boys, get snipped if you know you don't want it. Take control of the outcome yourself. Get snipped. Take control of the outcome yourself. There you go. Perfect. Get snipped. This leads me to this post in Pick A or B. Never seen this subreddit. I was tagged in this post. It says A or B. Is it normal for a husband to refuse sterilization after agreeing to be child-free? Here's the situation. My friend got married and later her doctor told her she can't safely get pregnant. She was devastated, cried for a long time, and eventually she and her husband agreed to live child-free. She asked him to get sterilized, but he refused. She felt like he broke their promise. His view is, since your body can't carry a pregnancy anyway, why should I give up my choice? She asked me if his thinking is normal. Honestly, I didn't know what to say. What do you think? A, he's being irresponsible. If they agreed to be child-free, he should take the most reliable step to make sure of it. B, it's understandable. Bodily autonomy matters, and agreeing to be child-free doesn't automatically mean surgery is required. What do you choose? A, he's being irresponsible, or B, it's understandable. Supposedly, they want to be child-free. They talked about it. But is that really what he wants, or is he child-free for right now until he leaves this woman and he goes off and decides to have a baby with somebody else? That's probably where he is where he's falling on this. She knows that her health is at risk because of pregnancy. She knows that that could harm her, but she's with this man that's like, that's your problem to deal with, lady. So y'all go ahead and chime in, A or B. Imaginary poetry brings up the point that I was making. C, he isn't planning to remain child-free. Their marriage is pretty much over. He's just going to ride along for a while until he finds someone else to have kids with. Bellany says, that's what I was thinking. He left the back door open a bit, just in case is morphing into probably. Okay. Infomanus says, is her back door open? That would also solve the problem. What? Yeah, gross. H. Minnie says, she can get pregnant. It would take her out and the fetus wouldn't survive. She doesn't say she's infertile. She can't carry a child safely. So his refusal to get sterilized means she risks injury or death every time. And that's what Rose at the bottom says. That was my reaction too. I have a friend who wouldn't survive pregnancy. Her husband got a vasectomy so they can be sure she wouldn't accidentally get pregnant. Why can't men be more supportive, especially if they say that they're child-free, unless they are lying? In that case, why do you want to be with a liar? Organic Eggplant says, this is the answer. He's not fully committed and is keeping his options open for his next spouse. Bodily autonomy matters, but her doctor did not say she cannot get pregnant. They said she cannot safely carry a pregnancy to term. He is putting her at risk by refusing a vasectomy, especially after the overturning of Roe v. Wade. She needs to leave him and have her tubes tied to protect her own health. Revolutionary Goat says they actually removed the tubes now, makes 0% chance of pregnancy. She should look into it and screw him or his feelings. My youngest had this done. It was a day surgery procedure. Getting pregnant would be life or death for her, as we live in Texas. And at the bottom, this person says, and removing the tubes reduces ovarian cancer risk by 80%. I'm not sure about that. Someone go ahead and weigh in. Does removing the tubes reduce ovarian cancer risk? Join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this. Is Monday. Make these dudes lonelier.